Good in the back. Welcome everybody. We're at spring game week. It's been a fun 4 weeks getting to this point, and it's really an exciting week this week. We had a lot of goals set for the spring practice. We're reevaluating those goals and looking at it. And what you do this time of the year is you see what you've accomplished and what still needs to get fixed in the last 4 days. So our words for the week have been focus, continue to have fun, but you got to finish. And these guys have been incredible. We take 3 practices and go to spring break. In the morning of the Thursday we went to spring break. It's really hard for those guys to focus because they're all wanting to be on the road and get home, and we had a great practice. And then for Easter weekend, we actually practiced Thursday morning of a wellness day, so there was no school. They were off. We met at 6:30 in the morning. We practiced from 8 to 10 and had a great scrimmage in the stadium. So the guys are older, they're more mature, they're focusing on trying to get to be great instead of good. Last year's team I really liked. I enjoyed spring practice. We kept our mouth shut because we didn't play well the year before, but the guys played well. Did a lot of good things, did a lot of things that haven't been done around here in a long time. What we didn't do is finish right, so that's been something that we've talked about the entire spring, is that sitting at 9-1, you need to be in the mix for a lot of things at the end, and we fans remember November. We remember November. Championships are won in November, and we didn't play well down the stretch, so they're fully aware of that as they go through. We'll have had a great practice this morning. I haven't been able to watch it all yet, but I thought both sides are getting more competitive. As a head coach in the spring, it's really difficult when you walk out and you say, boy, the defense played great today, but the offense then stunk, because somebody has to play bad for somebody to play good in the spring. And this morning, I thought it was very balanced. There were great plays on both sides, and they're getting more competitive, and that's something that we've got to see. We're continuing to look at how many starters you can have and rotate in a ball game with what we call the blue team, and that will be determined after the spring game. We'll obviously have some guys on Saturday that will rotate in the blue and the white, the first and the second teams, and we'll look at who they are, and then they will have that position until they get back in preseason, because we've got 10 high school guys and a transfer coming in June, so they'll add to the mix in the summer, and then they'll have a chance to get some jobs in the fall because they weren't here in the spring. And then we'll go back and let the early enrollees have another chance to step up in preseason, because it's hard for them to come in as a true freshman and make a huge impact to start with. So spring game is Saturday at 3 o'clock. Festivities will start for the young ones at 1. And it'll be like game day, so bring your kids out if you have time and enjoy a wonderful day. A lot of things going on campus. It is free. So we want you to come. If you don't have season tickets even, or if you don't have a chance to watch Carolina play football normally, come out and enjoy the day with your children or your grandchildren. And as we said, it starts at 1 o'clock with a fan fest at the bell tower. So come and enjoy a free day of entertainment and watch the Tar Heels. And a lot of things going on campus, a lot of different games. So you pull up your schedule and look at the other teams and see if you can watch some of those teams play as well. We said our focus is on continuing to have fun, but you want to finish. We got to finish. We got to finish everything we do to go from good to great. And that's what we didn't do last year. So that's probably we've talked a lot about mental and physical toughness, because we need to get tougher so we can finish down the stretch. But all of those things have been things that we have talked about. Still have 2 practices left, so Thursday will be a very important practice for us. Then we'll have Friday, which will be in shorts, because the NCAA requires you to have 3 shorts practices out of your 15, and we've only had 2. We usually have the first 2, and then we have one right before the spring game on Friday, and that'll just be organizing us for the spring game. Not exactly sure what we're going to do on Saturday. It'll be very similar to last year, I think. But we're looking at guys that if you are not full contact, but you can be in like a thud scrimmage, they're wearing yellow jerseys or yellow helmet covers, just to show the other players that they are they're limited to some degree. They can't tackle maybe because they had a shoulder operation, but they're well enough to be out there and do a lot of things. So we've got to try to figure out, do we put them in the scrimmage and just blow the whistle before they get where they would have contact, or do we start with a thud scrimmage for the first 10 or 20 plays to let them play, just to get them involved, because we've had a lot of changes on offense and defense, and then go ahead and finish the scrimmage with what we call tackle. So there's a thud that we do in practice. Some we've scrimmaged more by tackling this spring than we ever have, because we felt like we had to get a lot of things answered. We need to tackle better. Well, you can't tackle with thud. You got to tackle with scrimmage. Our running backs need to step up and show us who can break more tackles and make yards after contact. You can't do that in thud. So there are some things that you just can't do when you start looking at it. Offensively, we're kept the same passing game by and large. Changed a few things to try to help our protection, and we feel like those things have been good. We're running the ball much better than we did last year at any time. So I'm really excited about that moving forward. We said our two transfer receivers have just moved in and made a smooth transition, and both of them are very good, along with the guys we had. So we feel good about that. Andre Green stepped up the last practice and a half, 2 practices, and showing us what we expected of him when he first came here. So he's getting in the groove some. Defensively, we're much better. We're rushing the passer better. We're playing better technique up front. We've got to find 2 more linebackers. We can't expect Sid Gray and Power Eccles to play every time, every down for another year. So we're really working hard at getting Deuce Caldwell where he can play, getting the 2 freshmen, Michael Short and Amari Campbell, where one of them can step in. And also Sebastian Cheeks has been limited this spring, but he's playing a lot, and he is in some of those thud scrimmages now, so we've got to get him ready to go. And our theme with special teams has been, for the guys, find a place to play. And if you're not starting somewhere else, be on every special team as a starter. And that way you can contribute. And then in those special teams, let's don't be good. We were second best in the league last year. Let's be a difference in a ball game. Let's start winning games with special teams and make a difference instead of just being good. So we will finalize the depth chart probably on Monday, because the coaches will have a lot of recruits in this weekend, and the coaches will all grade the video over the weekend, and we'll grade it together on Monday, and then sit down and actually have a depth chart, and we'll start moving people up and down. And the weirdest thing about modern day roster management, the portal opens on Saturday. So April 15th to April 30th, you can have 5 guys come in Saturday right after the scrimmage and say they're leaving. And if you do, you just got to try to help them go. That's just, it's a new time. We're getting a lot of calls from people that are already in the portal. I'm sure our players are getting calls from people wanting them to go in the portal. And I told them this morning that if you're not happy here and you want to leave, we'll help you. So talk to your coach, see why you're not playing as much as you'd like to. If it doesn't look like that's going to improve short term, we'll help you. We'll get you in the portal. But just be honest with us, and let's don't hide and be angry, and let's just be honest and have no surprises. Questions?
We talked to Chip last Tuesday, and he brought up Andre Green. I asked him about the wide receivers, and he said that he's really starting to pick it up. And a big part isn't so much the physical stuff, it's the confidence and just kind of becoming a college football player in his mind. Is that what you've seen from him during the course of camp? And you just mentioned him, but where is he right now as far as being one of the 6 that you guys hope to have in that rotation?
Yeah, I would think right now we've got 4, and that would be the 2 new ones. It would be Kobe Pesor and Gavin Blackwell. Those would be the 4 we'd put out there today. Andre had by far his best scrimmage on Thursday. So he is getting in that mix and that's important. The young guys coming in have done a good job. Both Hamilton and Billups have both shown signs that they're going to be really good at some point. And then, of course, J.J. Jones is out. So we feel like it's really important for us, for Andre to step up. Lonnie actually played him with the Blues on Thursday some and got him out there with Drake some to step up and go. And I did think that Connor heralded some good things Thursday. He had by far his best practice this morning. So he is a clear number 2. He is with the white team and a guy that we feel like could go in and play now. So we're excited about that. That was something that needed to get done this spring. And just without reviewing the video this morning, I thought he had by far his best day.
Staying on Andre, he was so highly touted when he came in. Have you seen enough flashes of that? And is that all just kind of commensurate with where his mind is?
No, I think sometimes if you're not careful, you get all these stars and you get all these offers, you get all these recruits, and then the pressure and the standard is set so high that it's hard for a freshman just to come in and live up to that immediately. We said it happens in basketball. It doesn't happen as much in football. We felt like it's taken him to this point to be ready to go and feel confident and good about what we're doing and how we're doing it. And that's why Lonnie put him out there in some very competitive situations Thursday. He caught a touchdown pass. He made somebody miss a tackle and had a 20-yard run afterwards. So he really flashed some on Thursday for the first time.
Do you feel like with Drake now entering his second year as a star for this team that he's able to focus more so on helping the team improve rather than trying to establish himself as a leader of the offense? And do you feel like that will help give him a jump this year?
Yes, I would say yes in all categories. He's a tremendous leader, one of the best I've ever been around. You add Chip Lindsey to his knowledge, which he had 3 good years or 2 good years with Phil. Learned a lot, but you add Chip Lindsey, who's got 2 quarterbacks in the NFL. You add Clyde Christensen, who's coached the best ever. You add Freddie Kitchens, who's coached 2 number 1 quarterbacks. You got a lot of new eyeballs on him. And then Clyde and Freddie and Chip bring in some new concepts in the passing game that are very similar to what we've got, but especially off of play action in the red zone. I think Drake's in heaven. He's got some of the best people around him in the business, and it's been fun for me to watch. And we can't keep having sacks. Every year we've talked about it, and every year we've had them. Last year we didn't have as many for the first 10 games, and then we did. At the end, we gave up 6 sacks against Georgia Tech. So what we've got to do is what we've said we were going to do, and that's run the ball better, because the running game's quarterback's best friend. And even if it hurts Drake's numbers some, he's going to be throwing more touchdowns and getting hit less. So I think he'd like that for sure.
So he doesn't care that the strong running game would maybe diminish his numbers. He just wants to win.
Drake wants to win every game like the rest of us, and that's it. He's one of the most unselfish people I've ever been around in the business. He's so refreshing, and that's why he's such a star that it's going to be hard for that next one. That next one's got to step up and be real special.
Coach, on the topic of Drake May, on Monday, ESPN released its list of the top 10 quarterbacks in college football with Drake coming in at number 3. What are your thoughts on that right there?
Drake's number 1 to me, 100%. And you know, I worked for ESPN for 5 years. Those are called opinions, and it really doesn't matter. The opinion that will matter the most to Drake is me and Chip Lindsey and Clyde Christensen and Freddie Kitchens during the season. The opinions that'll matter the most to Drake after that will be the NFL, and then we'll know for sure. But I remember when I was ESPN, they always wanted, as soon as the national championship game was over, they'd send us an email, who's next year's national champion? I said, oh my God, I hadn't even thought about it. We don't know who's hurt, we don't know who's coming back. They said, I don't care, give us 4. So we gave them 4. So those are really subjective, but I don't worry about that stuff.
Mack, what has made Connor Harrell the clear, you said clear number 2, what are the things that have made him that for you?
Well, he's real smart. Valedictorian of his high school at Thompson High School. He knows how to win. I think he was 25-1 and won 2 or 3 state championships. And he can run. So he's got the good arm, but he is so fast. And modern day, as we watch it, it's hard for defenses to stop quarterbacks that can run. And you get that 3rd down and 4 situation, or 3rd down and 5, and everybody spread out. And the Colt McCoys and the Vince Youngs for years have been able to run and make that 1st down, and it's just nearly impossible to stop. And then if they blitz or come after them, they've got a short throw. So I see him being a guy who can really hurt you with his feet and with his arm.
Is that determined, you're talking about, sitting down and sort of plugging in the depth chart on Monday, is that determination there just at the backup quarterback? Does that happen maybe a little quicker than you thought it might?
You never know. Last year, Drake's and Jacoby's took longer.
Right.
But this has been clear cut for us. So he is, we felt like that Connor looked great last spring, and we're so excited. And then he didn't practice much in the fall. He even went to scout team some. And then in bowl practice, he did not do well. And he struggled, and it was frustrating for us because we said, okay, we got to have somebody out of this group be the next guy. And now he's gotten better and better in spring, and today was just a great day.
Mack, you mentioned multiple times about the running game, and you said that you're running really well. Right on spring, what is working so well right now with the running game?
We've expanded it some, Aaron, and we're running more plays than we did. We basically were a 4-play running game team for the last 4 years. And we feel like change is good sometimes, so you just add a different flavor with Chip and Randy, because they've done different things. And what Gus Malzahn's done, for instance, or what the old Baylor guys have done is more what they've incorporated. So we're more of a downhill running game, but we still have the ability to get outside. We're moving the quarterback more. We've got the quick game that I've always wanted. So the 2 backs that have stood out so far, you start looking at George Pettaway, sprained his ankle a few weeks ago. 10 days ago, Jeremy, I guess. He hadn't practiced in a couple of weeks. So Omarion Hampton and Elijah Green have really stepped up, and they've looked really, really good this spring. So British Brooks has actually started working now full speed and thud, which I'm surprised with his knee operation in August of last year. He looks good. He looks well. So again, he would be one of those guys that if he does anything Saturday, it would have to be a thud part of it to let him get back out there. But I'm so proud of him because he's gone from captain to starting running back to injured to probably being through to now back in the mix. But if you had a 2+1 today, which we're trying to get to, it would be probably Omarion, Elijah, and then the +1 would be British.
What about the lines play? You were talking about running backs, the way your line is handling.
I'm really impressed with Randy Clemens, but again, he and Chip have been friends for years, and one of the reasons I hired both of them, they're on the same page. And if you've got your offensive coordinator and your offensive line coach fighting over, I don't like the way you run this play, your protection's too short, it needs to be deeper, you're dropping too deep, quarterback don't have enough time to throw it. If you're, you've got to have one voice. And right now, we've got one voice in that room, and it's really working well.
You touched on it earlier about how when one side of the ball does well, the other one probably isn't. So as a coach and a staff, when you look at a spring game and you look at spring practice, what are the things you look at to evaluate, knowing that when one does well, the other one probably isn't?
Yeah, it's a great question. We've told the players we do not have game plans in the spring. And that's very important for them because I sit down after every practice and I'll go over a video with both sides, just me. and I'll sit there and I'll ask them, why this? This guy he needs to be in that gap. Why is he not in that gap? And sometimes they will say, Coach, we wouldn't run that defense against our offense. We got to look at it. We're getting it in, but that's not. We're not going to contain with a tackle against Drake May on an X stunt. They may say, there was one day I was really frustrated with the offense, and they were in 1 minute offense, and they weren't doing a good job with it. And they said, we got to try this. We got to try some things sometimes and see if they work, and see who can protect and who can't for us, because this is all new. So that's what spring's about. It's about evaluation of players, and it's about what you look at in schemes to see what might fit you best. And obviously, there's a lot of things you need to fix and improve every year.
Mack, what kind of fan enthusiasm have you sensed from the fan base leading up to the spring game?
Michael, everybody I see is good. They're excited. When you've got one of the best quarterbacks or one of the top three quarterbacks in the country,
Clever Mack.
then you've got a chance. And we've got a lot of guys back. And you take Corey Gaynor, for instance, will be much better because he was coming off a knee operation. He was coming into a new system, and he and Drake are on the same page so much. Most of the guys up front have played a lot. Willie Lampkin's been fun. You'll see him Saturday. He dislocated a finger, so he can't snap, so he won't play any center, but he'll play both guards. John Adorno's done a good job. So spring's fun to see who steps up and see who makes a difference. But that's what you do. And I have to be really careful as the head coach. When you walk out of practice, you're walking off with Gene Chizik and you say, God, the offense stunk today, and he's got a smile on his face. I mean, yeah, man, we killed him. I said, yeah, but I still got an offense too, man. We gotta do this. So you have to be really careful that you don't get into who won and who lost the practice as much as which player is playing well enough and steps up and needs to fit in that scheme. And that's I mean, we go over it today. We'll go over it in the staff meeting again today. We go over it every day because we're moving a guy up if he plays well and a guy down if he doesn't. And we've told them that, and that's just the way it is, regardless of who they are.
Speaking of Gene, obviously there's a lot of new personnel on that side of the ball, but now that he's in year 2 and he's had that full year to put his scheme in and get his fingerprint on this, how much does that help now being that further along in the process?
Well, Gene's very competitive, number one. He's very smart. He's won 2 national championships, so he knows what he's doing. But he also was not happy with last year, and he wasn't happy with himself. So he has been very, very driven since the minute we walked off that field at Oregon, where we had a chance to win with 19 seconds left against a great team that many people will have in the top 10 this year. He's been driven every day. And Jason Jones has been an easy transition with Charlton Warren because they work together at Indiana, so that's been seamless. And then Gene's gotten really close to Ted Monachino, the analyst coming in from the Falcons, and he's like Clyde. He's brief. He's had some of the best pass rushers in the country that he's coached, and that's been fun. So we've got the same guys in the front 7, and that's where we need to get better. Amari Gaynor is a tremendous addition. He's quick. He's fast. He's had to learn how to play the position because he was an inside linebacker at Florida State. Now he's got to be an outside linebacker, but he's doing that and doing it really well. He's so fast, and he's quick, and he loves to play. And you get transfers like he and Hussey and some of those, Tez Walker, Nate, they got to play now. I mean, there's an urgency with those older guys that you don't have with the freshmen. Freshmen are kind of find their way around college and figure out where the class is, and this is the first time away from home. These older guys want to play, so they go after it. So really our changes have been in the secondary, and we'll have some work to do in the fall. Elijah Hussey's been such a great addition. He's been fun, and then you've got Legend, Cavazos, and Marcus Allen that are all 3 right now playing corner. Tayon Holloway stepped up. He had an interception on Saturday. And he's going to have a chance to play. He's really a good athlete. He's long. He can catch. and we haven't played the ball well. So he's doing that better. And then your safeties, you've really got to look at what that means. You've still got Armani Chapman from Virginia Tech, who has played some corner. He's still limited with a shoulder, but he's also played in the nickel spot. And Hussey's played some in the nickel spot, so we're still cross-training as we look at that. But we'll have to look hard at who are the other safeties. Is it Don Chapman? Is it Gio Biggers? Is it Will Hardy? Is it Jaquarius Conley? Who are the other guys when we start looking at who's going to step up and play safety for us? Because we've got to tackle better in the secondary. We've got to play the ball better in the secondary. Those are the two goals. A lot of people start crack and pull on the corners and make them tackle. We didn't tackle well. So crack and replace, you got to do that at corner. So all of those things are things that we've had to work on.
At the outset of spring practice, you had some positive things to say about Spencer Rolland. What have you seen from him in the last 5 weeks, and how huge is it that he gets an off-season in a Power 5 program now as opposed to what he had previously at Harvard?
Yes, Spencer's much better today than he was this time last year because he wasn't even on campus. So if we think he came in June, he goes immediately to the business school.
Right.
He has trouble making his practice schedule work because of their schedule. And then he's playing at a much higher level pace with a lot faster pass rushers than ever before. Since that time, he's been able to get with our nutritionists. He's been able to get with our strength program. He's stronger. He's in better shape. But I think most of all, he has adjusted to the speed of the game. And that's made him much better. So he and William Barnes today would be the tackles. We'd have 3 guards with Ed Montelis, Willie Lemkin, and Jonathan Adorno. And we'd have, right now, Willie would be a backup center, but he can't snap. So you've got Corey Gaynor, you've got Chance, and then there's another, DJ Geff is playing some at center. He's had trouble. Chance Carroll is a young walk-on that's a good player, and he's played a lot. And then DJ would be right now the 4th center if Willie was well. But DJ's going to be a good player.
As you're seeing Spencer's game kind of come into form now after being here for
Yes.
a while, what are one or two things that he does really, really well and that you've really seen kind of blossom here?
Well, the first thing that's so obvious is he's brilliant. So he's not going to make mistakes. He's astrophysicist or something, and he's...
Can't disagree with him.
No, I don't even have conversations with him. I'm not going anything but football. I'll talk to him about football because he just has to count to 3 to be able to figure out who to block, and he can do that without question. The other thing is his footwork on pass protection, because he's blocking guys that are so much faster than the ones that he blocked in the Ivy League, and that's been his adjustment. I think more than anything else is the speed of the game. What else?
Mack, you talked about some of those second-year guys kind of making jumps here in the offseason. Obviously, that was a pretty highly touted recruiting class. I guess what kind of differences, or who has stuck out the most to you in the spring of kind of making that jump from their first year to second year in college football?
Oh gosh, first to second year. It's usually not offensive lineman. I mean, it's usually a skilled guy. Let's see who I would think. We could say all 3 tight ends are playing well. Bryson, I would not think Jeremy would play Saturday. You'll give him Saturday, but he pulled a hamstring. So he's fine, but I would think he'd be out. So he's missed probably 10 days. But Freddie Kitchens has been really pleased with all 3 of those tight ends, and they've just got to be better blockers. We weren't as tough at the point of attack as we needed to be, and it's one thing that Coach Lilly and I talked a lot about. I would think you'd have to mention Connor Harrell right now. He hadn't played, but after watching him today and some Thursday, he did have an interception Thursday. I think absolutely George Pettaway and Omarion Hampton. Omarion's had a huge jump, and George was doing a lot of really good things before he didn't get to play. Kobe Pesor is playing really well. Right now, he would be out there as a starter. along with those other guys most likely. So I think he has improved so much. Andre Green, we just talked about, he's making a jump. Bo Atkinson has been in the mix some. He's at power end. He's done a really good job. Travis Shaw's obvious, it's all there. He's lost a lot of weight. He's playing better. So we need him to step up. Even though he's been here a couple of years, Kendrick Bingley Jones is finally healthy. He's had 3 operations. So KJ's he's been good, but it's time for him to play now. And he looks like he's having a chance to do that. We talked about Amari Gaynor. The young linebackers have looked good this spring. I'm glad they're here, but they just got here, so jury's still out on them. Tayon Holloway, I think, will be in the mix. He's going to have a chance to play at corner. Will Hardy didn't get to practice this spring in the tackle scrimmages, but he looks really good. He finished really well. Probably Marcus Allen can take a huge jump. He and Legend Cavazos, because Legend just got here from Ohio State, so both of them could have a huge jump. And I think that's probably it. We've been impressed with the kicker from Cincinnati, Ryan Coe. He's got a great leg. So the ball just jumps off his foot, so we've been impressed with him as well.
Coach, if you had to, what's been the best way for you to balance the NIL and the transfer portal and how you do your job, just making sure you have a efficient roster and balancing, make sure players are happy being here within the program. How do you balance that?
The thing we've tried to do is just go by the rules. We brought the NCAA in, one of the top enforcement people, and talked to them for an hour and a half and said, what are the rules? Help us with what this really means. And they said, you know what? Nobody can offer money to a player before he gets into school. What's the difference in somebody offering him $200,000 as an inducement 3 years ago and somebody offering him the same now, saying it's NIL money? It's still an inducement. So what we've done is said that we have a collective, it's Heels for Life. They do a good job. They do it right. We have they have an agent named Graham Boone, who's a 10-year agent for the NBA. It's really, really good at what he does. He meets with the players. I don't know how many guys on our team make NIL money through the collective. I'm not supposed to. I don't know how much they make. And we've told our guys it's not realistic for somebody to be offering you money when you haven't accomplished anything. So you come here, you earn it. There'll be enough people out there that want to go through the collective to help you, and that's what you got to do. Most of the kids now have agents. We've also said your agent's job is to make money for you. So challenge him. Sit there and say, what's your job, man? And I've told them, don't let the agent take money out of the collective money you get. They didn't earn it for you. So we're all learning to navigate this stuff. But our players seem happy. They understand. We've told them that really your NIL is getting a Carolina degree and it's on the back end, because nobody's going to pay you enough money up front for you not to have to work when you get through. So don't make a decision based on a little money up front that's going to be gone fast. You make your decision on where you should be in school and what's going to happen for you when you get out. And like I said, we've been so honest with the transfer portal. If a guy doesn't want to be here, we've said go somewhere else. And so far it's working. We're really happy. The guys that have gone somewhere else that we have helped place, and every guy that's left here, we've gotten a place to go. And there's 40% that don't have a place to go. So we're really proud of that. Every one of them text me and call me. And one of them called the other day and said, man, I didn't realize how good the food was at Carolina after eating this stuff. I said, our food's pretty good.
Not burgers and hot dogs like that, right?
No.
Mack, who does Tez Walker remind you of? And it seems like, seems like he's a name that has come up throughout the spring as someone who's been playing well, and the guy just got here basically. Is there anybody he reminds you of? Or?
Yeah, he's very similar to a Diami.
Okay.
because he can run by people.
Yeah.
And when you can run by somebody, that means there's options underneath. And he's got length, and he's fast, and he can catch. Some people had questioned whether he was a great catcher coming in, and I don't think he's dropped a ball. But he is, he's really dynamic out there. If he's out there, they have to know where he is. And we haven't covered him very well. I will say that.
Yeah, I mean, looks like he's caught some balls over the top.
He has. And again, I'm responsible for that too, so.
Mack, when we talk about going back to the running backs, you mentioned O and Elijah plus Brooks. How do you manage that room given the injuries? And Caleb's been out, and then you're going to have to deal with the portal opening back up. I mean, it sounds like that's something that needs to work itself out in the fall when everybody's healthy, but.
Yeah, I think, Tommy, it's obviously a great question we talk about daily. And you can answer it when some aren't healthy, but the ones that are healthy are the ones that have got to play right now. Because if someone is continued to be hurt, hard to play this game if you're hurt. So what we've got to do is we've got to plan on the guys that are healthy playing. And then if the other guys can step up and make a difference, I would think we'll probably need to scrimmage more in the fall for the running backs. That's we've had to scrimmage more this spring for young linebackers and for running backs to see who would separate. And then it usually takes care of itself. George hurts his ankle, and Omarion's been having a great spring, and Elijah just keeps getting better. Elijah Green's one of those guys, he does everything perfect every day. And you sit there and you don't notice him, and then he just keeps making yards. So I'm impressed with him.
Coach, you spoke about it a little bit earlier, but can you just elaborate on what are some of the challenges with navigating the transfer portal amid spring practice?
The biggest problem is tampering. And now people say, well, why don't you say who's calling them? Well, the agents are calling them now, so you can't even figure out who it is. It never gets back to you. The players just come and tell you, I've been contacted by somebody's agent, and that's impossible to trace. And we may have a really good player leave Saturday or Sunday, I don't know. But I haven't really felt that since January. And I feel like that, I do feel like things are settling down with NIL. There was a lot less talk about it this year than there was last year. People are having to be much more careful now because the NCAA is watching it very closely, and they're asking more questions than they did last year. We're back on track. We've got a new boss, and they don't like all the stuff that's out there that's being talked about. So I do feel like that they're going to make some changes fast. They're talking about making players ineligible. If the player agrees to take some money and they can prove it. So I said, hurry. It would help us a lot if you'll hurry up and do that. And the other thing they've done with the transfer portal, which I think is good, is they've said that you can't transfer twice undergraduate without getting a waiver. And you know, we look at some of these basketball teams and they say all 5 are transfers. I mean, we got a little carried away there. So I think we'll see all of this slow down a little bit. And when 40% of the guys that go in the portal don't have a place to go, you're going to also see fewer people get in the portal, I think. And now, if a high-profile player goes somewhere else, the NCAA, if and when they can prove that an agent was involved that was representing another team, then the player will be ineligible. So if there's a player here and his agent reaches out to another school and that school takes him, our player's ineligible for reaching out. If we can prove that somebody reached out to him and he took money to transfer, which is usually the case, then he could very well be, the school could be in trouble that offered the money, and also the player could be in trouble because he took the money illegally before he transferred. So there's a lot more NCAA eyes on this stuff than there was last year. And I do think that's going to slow some of it down. It's going to make some people be a lot more careful.
Mack,
Is that why Charlie Baker maybe was a pretty good hire, because he knows how to legislate certain things, and also he's got no relationships, so he's got nobody to protect essentially.
Yeah, the people that I know that know Governor Baker think he's a really good hire, because all this started at Congress. And until we can start at Congress and straighten some things out and work back down to legislation, then we're probably not going to go anywhere.
to add to Tommy's question about the running backs, and the 2+1 situation, I mean, I realize it's April 11th, it's kind of ridiculous, but is the reality there that some really good guys are just going to get shut out? Like, I mean, obviously Caleb's hurt. He can't help that he's hurt. George Pettaway can't help that he's hurt. But, you know, these are guys that Caleb has been a starter. Pettaway, obviously, a big-time recruit. Like, is the reality there just that some of these guys aren't going to be able to get on the field?
I think the reality is that this time last year we were having the same discussion, and then British got hurt in preseason, and then Caleb got hurt 3 times.
Right.
And then we were thin at running back at one point. So, but I do think that's what the transfer portal's for. If somebody's not happy with their playing time, then they have a chance to go somewhere else. And I do think that's a good thing about the portal. I don't worry about that. If as hard as these kids work, if a guy's working and he's not the guy, and he wants to be the guy, we'll help him go somewhere else. And I think that's probably the major reason we have a really good locker room, because we openly talk about it. Like I said this morning, I started the team meeting at 6:30 this morning with portal opens up on Saturday. If anybody's interested in going, let me know, and I'll help you. I said, talk to your coaches first and see if it looks like the direction of your career right now is going to change here, and if it's not, we'll find you a place to go. And I just think that's the only way to do it, is just be transparent and be fair and move forward with it. What else? Anything else?
Thank you, Gang.
Guys, TV was here 20 minutes early and had